And we are live. Hello, everybody. It's your pal Joey T from the Cartoon P. Yay! All right, so I had a request last week. I mentioned I had a Funko Pop collection, so we are going to get to that. But first, there was something I wanted to talk about on this stream that I feel was a big impact as far as this week goes. So, I wanted to talk about that. And in the meantime, I'm going to let you know that the chat option, I'm not going to be able to read the comments while I talk about the change of channel movement and my Funko collection. I'm going to do that while I draw, much like I did the last time I streamed. But if you got any suggestions, feel free to let me know. I'm always hip. This is new to me, so I'm still trying to figure things out. But let's get to the thing that I feel like I really wanted to talk about. So, I want to say 2 years ago, I made a video on my channel called What's Up with the Nostalgia Critic, where I talked about my concerns with the Nostalgia Critic videos. And it's funny that I made that video because I feel like a lot of the things I have issues with the current state of the Nostalgia Critic videos relate to the idea of changes of channel. But if you don't know, Nostalgia Critic's a character, reviews movies based on the word salad. Nostalgia Critic's a character created by Doug Walker, reviewing persona towards reviewing bad children's movies, mostly from the past. Nowadays, it's just movies. Um, in the past, he used to do it very DIY. Used to. Let me go ahead and fix this. For some reason, this is just driving me nuts. Yeah, that's a little bit better. Keeps it a little bit more sturdier. But like, it was very simple, and that's what I appreciate about it. It was a very simple style, and he would talk much like I'm doing right now. He'd edit the videos. He'd use clips from the films, and he'd make a lot of fast-paced jokes. And to me, that was something I looked up to. I was very inspired by his DIY approach. Now, it's weird because afterwards he developed a website where he incorporated other contributors who were also inspired by him. And little known fact, I was one of those people who was very inspired to be on this website. That guy with the glasses, now known as Channel Awesome. I mean, I wanted to do this. It looked like fun. I wanted to be a part of that site, so I made an account and I shared my videos, the very early Cartoon Palooza reviews in late 2010, early 2011, on That Guy with the Glasses forums, where I actually got to in touch with past contributors, people that I'm longtime friends with. You know, a lot of connections I made on that forum. It's hard to believe that I would have made all those connections, but you know what? It was a pretty special place. Now I know I don't want to say like I contribute Cartoon Palooza everything to Cartoon Palooza to that guy with the glasses, but it did play a big role into my development as a series. Very big inspiration, just to make it clear. There were a lot of other inspirations I have. At the same time I was on That Guy with the Glasses, I was also on Spill.com. And nowadays you find me on Double Toasted, keeping in touch. But for the most part, I've always considered That Guy with the Glasses and Doug Walker and his style be a big influence on the stuff I do. Now, it's funny. I keep saying it's funny because it's not really funny. Um, as his reviews got bigger and he did these anniversary movies where he'd incorporate all these other contributors onto the site into getting together and making these, for the most part, vanity projects. They're very silly. They had the contributors doing these like big over the top things, but it looked like it was all in good fun. It turns out it wasn't, and it seemed like things that weren't big problems suddenly became big problems. If you don't know, currently there is a document circulating the internet regarding past contributors of That Guy with the Glasses who had grievances, and I recommend that you check it out. Once I post this stream, I'm going to post a link to the document, the Not So Awesome document, talking about all these grievances fellow contributors have had when being a part of That Guy with the Glasses and into Channel Awesome. And it revolves around Doug Walker, revolves around his brother Rob, who's also instrumental to the creation of the character, and Mike McCod, who's the CEO of Channel Awesome, which on the grand scheme of things, you find to be kind of odd because you'd figure this would be like you'd figure Doug Walker would be a sole proprietor, why he would make Channel Awesome into a corporation, but what do I know? I'm not really into the business side of things. But I feel like that's an important factor into this discussion tonight because the corporation comes into play. Like, when you hear about the contributors joining That Guy with the Glasses, what I thought it was is, as everybody else thought it was, you know, you post your videos, they post it on their site, and you share the views. But you didn't really see them as being like employees. You didn't think of them as signing contracts. It's kind of like what I do on That Fellow in the Coat. For the most part, you know, Stefan, the moderator of That Fellow with the Coat, he sees that I post a video and he just posts it on his site, and I'm totally cool with that. It's no like legal obligations. It's just, you know, take my videos, show them to your audience, see what they think. And for the most part, it's worked. You know, I got a lot of people from That Fellow in the Coat watching my videos, and I'm very happy being a part of that site. It's a fun community, you know? Love you guys. But anyways, you don't think of it as being like a simple obligation to be a part of that site. You don't think you gotta sign no contracts. You don't think you gotta do all that fun stuff. But apparently you do at Channel Awesome. Apparently you're by contract, you're technically almost treated like an employee. You know, you're required, you have to get on these Skype calls, which again, I'm going to get to in a little bit. And you find out that these people were kind of taken advantage of, for the most part. I mean, the anniversary videos that I was talking about, they all get their free plane trip to either Chicago, and I think one year they went to Reno to film a movie called Kick-Assia. And they aren't paid, but they're paid in flights to go there. And they make these anniversary movies. And a lot of the times, you feel like they're written around Doug's character, and they're not really written around the personas, kind of written around the personas of the reviewers. Like, for example, there was one contributor who ended up being the son of Colin Mockery, the comedian from Whose Line Is It Anyway, which I had no idea until it was brought up in the film Totally Free. Luke Mockery, who I believe right now is currently trans, which is great. That's awesome. But back then he did a review series, and I forgot the name of the review series. But he had like a very interesting style where he like split himself in half. He was like, you know, the good of the film, he reviews it in one person, and then the bad of the film, he reviews it in another, and he has a discussion with himself. But then when he's in To Boldly Flee and what's the other one, Suburban Nights, no mention of it. In fact, it's like one of those things that's not even mentioned, and his character is kind of contradictory to like what he did on his review series. It's almost like Doug Walker didn't really care, really look into, and I'm saying Doug, but maybe just the corporation didn't really look into the guy that they're posting and have a chance to really look into what he did, and had him written around a character that has nothing to do with his review series, you know? And that was one thing that kind of bothered me. A lot of other things too, which it also comes into play because they're told to do things. One of those grievances in the Not So Awesome document that they didn't want to do, like a rape scene. Yeah, there was supposed to be a rape scene in To Boldly Flee, which ended up, and I remember this back then, and I remember it being weird and pointless, where Mecha Kara was supposed to rape on screen Lindsay Ellis. And if you know anything about Lindsay Ellis's videos, and even Lee Kara's videos, he's very, very against the idea of using rape in film to get a certain reaction. And to see that kind of get through was disappointing. It was one of those things I didn't like about To Boldly Free. Even back then, I was never a fan of that film. But everybody insisted that it was the big finale. It's going to be really cool. It was like a 4-hour vanity project. It was longer than Suburban Nights, and it was longer than Kick-Assia. At least with the brawl, it's just one video, where it's just an extended version of the Nostalgia Critic and the Angry Video Game Nerd fighting. And that's fun. That's awesome. That's cool. There's no big elaborate movie that's put on apparently in like a steel box, you know? supposed to be this big epic space adventure with really crappy effects, whatever. And it's a real mess. It's a real mess. And they got characters in there that are doing things that don't make any sense. And I think the point of this is that a lot of the contributors are very unhappy. They were treated like crap. And for somebody who watches these videos and hope to aspire to be like them, it's disappointing when you see that this is the way they were treated. And as a fan, I see that and I'm just like, I don't know, I feel like I wasted my time on that site. Though I can't say I regret it because, like I said, I wouldn't have found the people that I consider friends. Like, there are people on the forums that I've become friends with, and even might show up in the chats. One of the guys in charge of the blogs forums, the blog sections, who's a big factor in that. He in very good friends with a lot of the contributors. Safara will tell you, he's a great person, good guy. And a lot of other people on the site, that I'm glad to call friends, personal friends too. That I knew from that site. And with all this crap, 70 pages worth of grievances in this not so awesome document. I apologize. This is all seeming all over the place. I didn't really script this. This is just my impression on something that happened. I mean, there are videos and other accounts on Twitter from actual contributors that can give you a concise recollection of what's going on. But for the most part, all you need to know is there's some bad stuff happening on Channel Awesome. A lot of it's centering around the CEO of Channel Awesome. And a lot of the contributors got together, ex-contributors got together to put this document. And the funny thing, though, is that it started with Obscure Sloopa, Alison Pregler. But if you know and watch Alison Pregler stuff, you know that she was talking about this way back when she got fired from Channel Awesome. And the funny thing is, too, is that when she got let go from Channel Awesome, the first thing she did was post it on Twitter that, why it happened and explain that there was some pretty crappy stuff going on at Channel Awesome. One of my friends, Count Dracula from Planet Dracula, who made a vlog around that time too, which I highly recommend. I also recommend checking out his videos on the subject of Change the Channel because they are very informative and provide some great insight. But for the most part, she has been talking about this, all these grievances, and then it comes to the attention of the past HR lady, Holly Brown, who, if you followed her Twitter and you followed her online, she's a very big voice on social media. See her grievances, which to me was pretty surprising since she was the voice of that guy with the glasses. So for the most part, to see her pissed, some pretty bad stuff is going on. As someone who's been with the site, been a part of that community for a while, can tell you, when Holly's pissed about something, something's going down. But anyways, she got together Mars Girl, other contributors like Linkara, that's right, Linkara, like one of the big guys. The fact that he left the site himself, voluntarily left that guy with the glasses, Channel Awesome, whatever you may call this thing anymore, that's pretty freaking serious. A lot of contributors just leaving the site over really petty things and serious things, really serious things, including sexual harassment. Yeah, you heard that. There was some pretty shady crap going on that site, and for the most part, I don't feel obliged to really talk about it because there's some things that my friends have brought up, and I'll be real with you in respect to a lot of that. I mean, the Mike Ellis, if you already know about that, there are vlogs talking about how the past COO Mike Ellis did some pretty bad stuff behind the scenes. But in regards to what's been recently found out, that's an area that's pretty serious with a lot of people I know. So I'm not gonna, in respect of that, I'm just not even gonna touch on that. But just bring up that there was some pretty bad stuff going on. But you probably already know it too if you've already seen the vlogs and all that. I feel like if I'm gonna say anything, I'm not really gonna add anything to it. So what's the even point of really even talking about it? But what pisses people off and pisses me off the most about all this is that this document comes out, and really what it comes down to is this is the stuff you've done. What are you gonna do about it? We're just looking for saying I'm sorry. Wings you can do better. That's not what they do. They literally put out two statements. The first statement stating that they understand there was this document flying around, but hey, listen, you feel bad. I understand you feel bad, but I'm not going to say I'm sorry. It was pretty much a non-apology to these people, and that's kind of disappointing. And then after that statement was released, more contributors left the site. And then after more contributors left the site, there was another statement given. And Doug Walker, Doug Walker posting on his Facebook page this second response is really what pissed me off the most, because rather than just say I'm sorry, they have the nerve to go through the document and pretty much try to prove themselves right in a very Donald Trump way. You know, it kind of reminded me of like how Donald Trump states that there's fake news. It really reminded me of that, and like, you know, there was like, this is what happened, but this is what really happened. And despite the fact that they try covering things up to make it, you know, misprove that. Like, for example, so the big issues in the document was that when the contributors got together to make these crossover movies, when they did crossovers with one another, if for their own channels, or at least I thought for their own channels, they were actually posted onto the Channel Awesome Blip page. You know, Doug Walker's Blip page. If you don't remember Blip being, you know, the video sharing site that I used to be a part of. So for the most part, they would make these crossovers, but they would have to give them to Mike McCaw, the CEO, so they could post it on their site. So they were making these videos for free, and they were collecting the ad revenue off of it. And in the document, they stated, well, they knew that. They signed a contract. And it's like, listen, that's what they know, and that's what they stated. They already stated that they had to do it, but the problem is, that they were proposed to do it in the first place, and these people don't really get a chance to make these crossover videos. And let me tell you something. I can understand where they're coming from. I'm very picky about crossovers. I rarely ever do them on my channel because there's a certain way where crossing between borders, you know, online, things can get lost in translation. Whereas when you're meeting with people for the first time, you have a clearer idea of what to do. I'd much rather be working with someone directly and planning something ahead of time where it's like a big thing where you meet together and physically. That's why I love the Smurfs crossover I did with Animat when I went to Montreal. That was a lot of fun. But I can understand like getting to do something like that. You know, you don't get a chance to see these people, and this is an opportunity for them to have to do it for free. It doesn't become an opportunity, it becomes work, and that's not fun, you know, and that's what annoys them, and they have the nerve to say, well, listen, you know, you signed a contract, so you're going to have to do it anyways. You're not even getting paid, mother. You're not even getting paid, dude. Like, I think that's what irritates me the most about all that. But, like I said, it really annoys me that Channel Awesome had the nerve to basically say, you're wrong, and you're always wrong, so you're going to have to deal with that. And, you know what? For the most part, if they're going to treat their fans like that, then I guess I shouldn't have any respect for them, you know, if they're going to treat us like that, you know, because I feel like a lot of these people, and it affects me most because I was so tied to this site. I was relating to this site. You know, I pretty much looked up to this site, and to see them do that really, really, really pissed me off. And really, that's all I got to say. On top of the fact that the one thing they never addressed in their second response was the $90,000 that they raised to fund a really crappy game show, which if you go online, look up Pop Quiz Hot Shot, yeah, $90,000 of people's money. People's money. You think they could have afforded to do that. And I know. When I was first a fan of Doug Walker, I kind of knew that he did things on the cheap, and that was kind of like why I appreciated it and all, but knowing that this corporation, this legit corporation, was making a lot of money, and they decided to do things on the cheap and still do things on the cheap that seem pretty cheap, is what kind of irritated me in the long run, which only makes me less of a fan of the site. And their arrogance, their real arrogance about presuming that they're like one of the big guys, when really, at this point, I agree with a lot of people. So now looking back on it, it is kind of cringy. But listen, that's all I gotta say about the change the channel. If you got any questions, I'm going to open it up. But first, let's get back to the big I really wanted to talk about, the real meat and bones. And if you noticed, it's not just me. You might hear my roommate on the other side, but it's whatever. It's casual. Who cares? You probably don't even hear it as much. Let's talk about my Funko collection. So, Funko Pops. I didn't think I was going to be a fan of them. I really didn't. But here I am now. here I am now, collecting Funko Pops. And you know, I think a lot of it has to do with kind of a desire to kind of like make my own figurines too. Like I think I posted this little guy here before, but I've been kind of like playing around with sculpting, and something about Funko Pop was a very interesting design. Even like the start of that company, you find out that the guy who started Funko Pop started off as just a regular graphic designer, and then he went into making losing my train of thought. Went into making bobbleheads for the Big Boy mascot, and then afterwards he got the attention of the licensors for Austin Powers, so then he made the Wacky Wobblers lines of bobbleheads, and then all vinyl toys, and then eventually leading to Funko Pop, which is basically buying licenses to movies, TV shows, mostly geeky stuff, and making these cute little vinyl toys out of them. And at first, I didn't mind it as much, but over time, I've seen their appeal, and it's something that I've kind of played around with. Now, I have a very small collection. I actually would go out and say that I only have 10. And if you haven't noticed, one of them I've actually taken apart because this one was breaking anyways. This is Superman, or at least Superman. There's two, and I knew this was going to be broken anyways. I had this in my internship, and one of the kids I was playing with pretty much murdered it. It's the best way I could put it. He pretty much murdered Superman. He wasn't Doomsday. I mean, it was a little 5-year-old. I wouldn't call him Doomsday, but yeah. I guess you could say I wasn't really a fan of this one anyways. I mean, I kind of just wanted to have a Superman toy for the most part, something that was Superman related, because you work with kids. You kind of want to vary everything, and and I got this at Target, so it was very cheap too. So I figured, why don't I just get the Superman Funko? And if you're wondering why it's taken apart, one, it was originally broken, but two, I was wondering how to make a head heavy, but make it in a way where I could figure out how to make a mouthpiece like this for myself, if I were to make like a toy similar to this. And just seeing how it's molded, which is it's a very interesting process. If you go to my Etsy store, you'll see that I have a couple of resin keychains I made, and using molds in a similar process to making these sort of guys. But the hollow part is what I was looking into doing. All right. Actually gonna turn on the chat. I'm gonna see how things are going on the video. Let's see. Watching me goof off. Boop-a-doo, doo-boop-a-doo. Ba-doop-a-doo. Let's go to the chat. There we go. We've got a lot of people jumping in on this. Hello, everybody. There we go. All right, we're back. I just wanted to see how that looked, how everything is getting together. So let's actually talk. And the way I wanted to, without talking about Superman, because I figured that one was already broken anyways, I figured the way I was going to go through this collection was to talk about my my least favorite Funko and kind of go to like my current favorite one. And I'm just going to go out and say, as much as I love this Bugs Bunny Funko, this I had to have. You don't know, Bugs Bunny is one of my favorite cartoon characters of all time. I was very disappointed by it. And, for the most part, it doesn't really stand that well. Like here, I'll show you. I'll show you how it looks. When you try to stand it up over here, it's very hard to get him to stand properly. You have to be very delicate about it. He stands, so look, instantly falls, And a lot of it is the head size. And maybe if it had a lighter head, a smaller head. But, that's part of Bugs Bunny's design. It's the ears, too. You can't make the ears any lighter. And I guess that's why it comes across as being a little heavy, a little less a little less practical than the other Funkos, and but on a grand scheme, it's a nice Funko. It's a nice one. But when I'm putting them out with all the rest, it's hard for me to get a good way to have them stand up properly. You know, it's very hard for me to get him to stand properly. No, I don't have any Care Bear Funkos because that would be weird. I think I saw him at Toys R Us though. I was thinking about that. But let's go on to the other ones. I want to say I'm not that crazy about Cusco. And that's a shame too because I love this character. I got a Cusco Funko when he's a llama. But the first thing that I noticed when I opened him was that he fell right out, and I actually had to glue with crazy glue. I had to glue back the leg. It was like as soon as I took him out, leg pops off. Funko popped off. And I guess you could say one thing kind of irritated me was that this doesn't have to be a Funko Pop. You look at this, it doesn't even really look like a Funko Pop. It just looks like a distorted Cusco llama character. It's nothing about it really appeals in that Funko design. But I mean, it's a nice figure either way. It's just, to me, it's just too much like the character from the Emperor's New Groove to really set it apart from being a Funko. Like, you can even argue, like, listen, Bugs over here still looks like a Funko. He still looks like a Funko. So you can't say, could have made it something that's a little bit of a movie. Maybe it's the smirk. Maybe it's the eyebrows, the DreamWorks face. If you haven't noticed, he's got kind of a DreamWorks face. That's really what's most irritating about it. But kind of works too. Let's see. You know what Funko I would love to see them make? I was thinking about this a while back, and I can't believe I'm forgetting about it now. They don't have Pokemon. The last I checked, they don't have any Pokemon Funkos. Might be a thing they have to talk about with the guys who own the license. I think because Pokemon is a license, is all over the game, all over the place. You got the trading cards, you got the games which they originally came from, you got the cartoons. So it'd be hard to make a Funko specific to Pokemon since there's really that license is all over the place. So that's one I would like to see. Maybe, just maybe, I would love to see. What's another Funko I would love? Definitely cartoon related. You know, Spyro the Dragon. Not if they don't have Spyro the Dragon with the re-release coming out, that'd be kind of cool. Which, speaking of Spyro, or speaking of PlayStation 1, remastered. I guess I'm trying to make a good segue, but I really failed there. You get Cortex. So the story about Cortex, I was in FYE and I saw that they had the Crash Bandicoot Funkos. And when you see him, you go, yep, I want it. And I knew the only one they had was Cortex, but I was like, you know what? At some point, I'm going to go get Crash. And I'm going to be real with you. If you haven't noticed, I don't keep them in the boxes. I take them out of the boxes. I know that like devalues it, but you know, I'm kind of like got the Toy Story 2 approach things where you don't put things in boxes. You kind of let toys be toys. And for the most part, the one thing that kind of annoys me is that if you look closely, they didn't really get the paint job done that well on his beard. And it's weird. I know they're all vinyl, but for some reason, this doesn't feel like the same material. And it's not flocked. If you don't know, flocked Funkos are where there's like a fur to it, kind of like it's got covered in a light fur. But this one doesn't. So, to me, this one's just an oddity. But it's a nice character. I mean, I love how they captured the look of Dr. Neo's Cortex. If you don't know already, I love the original Crash games. I don't have a PlayStation 4, so I haven't had a chance to play the remastered versions. But the one thing I could say about this, and the next Funko I'm going to be talking about, is that they really honor the original Naughty Dog designs and don't just say, oh, the remastered, so we're just going to stick to the remastered look. No, they do for something that's universally Crash. And then that leads me to one figure that I'm really proud of having, my own Crash. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to make him spin. Wow! Whatever. I love this figure. I wouldn't say it's like... I kind of wish it was my favorite. Like, everything about this one really... I put it in my thumbnail for a reason because that's how much I love this one. But it's just... It gets everything right. It's very unique to the Funko look. And interesting enough, because... If you don't notice, the thing about Crash Bandicoot is that he has no neck. And if you don't notice with a lot of these Funkos, they have necks, and therefore by having necks, they have to create plates so that they can stick the head on, so they don't fall off. Which is, I guess, the problem with Bugs Bunny is that his head's just a little too big, but they hollow it out so that it can fit. And he doesn't have one because the original design of Crash Bandicoot, which they messed up in a couple of the PlayStation 2 games, is that he doesn't have a neck. So they managed, I feel like, somehow managed to get it hollow in the middle all together, and it works. It really does. They actually really outdid themselves with this Crash Funko. A couple of paint job issues, but for the most part, they really did it well. I'm kind of proud to have this one. Really am. Love the games. So I noticed someone in the stream mentioned Spider-Man, so I had to have myself an Iron Spider. You know what? My biggest regret was not getting Spider-Man, the original Spider-Man Funko. I want to say about 6 months ago at Walmart when they had the original Tom Holland version of Spider-Man. Instead, this is the Iron Spider version that's going to be Avengers Infinity War. But the thing is, you can't even really call this the Infinity War. You can't really call this the Iron Spider costume because if anybody knows the comics, this ain't no Iron Spider. But it's just a fancier look of the costume with some of the gauntlets. The gauntlets specifically are like at least the little chest, not chest, but little covers on his wrists, like his shooters, are very unique to the original Iron Spider look. So there's that. For the most part, it's a good figure. I kind of wish I had the original. And I know there's one Funko that I would love to see them do, and that would be the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. I would love to see them do a Funko Pops series of the original Spider-Man movies. Have one with, Peter Parker as, Tobey Maguire as Peter Parker without the mask, with the mask, because that's a very unique Spider-Man look. And I would love to see that done in Funko. Woo! I said that all in one breath. And little known fact, one of the first Funkos that I ever got, when I was working with another job I had, I went to a craft fair with some of the kids I was working with at the time, and I saw that they had a Deadpool Funko, and it's all bobblehead, which I don't know whether or not this is just a Marvel thing, but have they made Funkos that weren't bobbleheads for superheroes, or is that just the preferred thing for Funkos to do the bobbleheads of superheroes? I don't think they do for the DC characters, but it seems specific to the Marvel characters. It's a great figure. He's got his katana. He's got himself his Uzi. Got his pieces. And for the most part, it's Deadpool. You can't go wrong, man. Which, funny enough, before the movie, I kind of hated Deadpool's popularity, but seeing the movie kind of put things into perspective for me. I think I mentioned that once before. And last but not least, yeah. Now the cool thing about this Iron Man Funko. Oh no. Look at that, guys. Wow, I love... the beauty of streaming is that you find things out in the moment. But the one thing I found out is I think I'm going to have to glue this back together. Looks like the stand has to be glued back together. But this guy is flying about. I think I might have to fix him. Let's go do the test. See if he stands up without it. Oh, boy. Yeah, he's all funky. No, I think he stands out pretty well. Looks okay, but he's supposed to be standing a little bit more upright like this, so I may have to detach this guy and re-glue that together. This little guy over here, I guess he's not flying properly, and if he's not flying properly, he's probably going to be burning people with his jet propulsion without trying. So that's neat. There we go. I got to glue him back together. Pop goes the Funko. Pop. But he's a good figure either way. I'm just going to have to fix this one later. Whatever. Everything's a complete mess. It's a metaphor for my life, but whatever. Now I had to get this because I noticed this on Twitter. They have a collection of Funkos that are 8-bit look, and I guess they're taking characters that are unique to the 80s. So they took the 80s version of the Ninja Turtles from the cartoon, and they got Mikey. So I had to get myself a Mikey one. And the coolest thing I got to say about this one is, much like Crash Bandicoot, it doesn't have the neck plate, but because it's no neck, so they actually managed to get this to be a hollow vinyl figure, like all in one piece. So it's not hollow in the middle. The Crash one, on the other hand, is a little bit hollow in the middle. I think they managed to hollow this one out, but this one, I'm gonna go as far as to say it's pure vinyl. If not, hey, maybe I'm wrong. But as somebody who's looking into making his own toys can tell you, that's interesting. It's pretty cool. The fact that they managed to get it to look all pixelated like that it's pretty funky. It's pretty cool. Man, this chat is going nuts. It's crazy. Yep, slippery hands. Slippy, slippy, slippy. I think I'm almost done with the whole collection, but no. Got one more guy I want to share. And this one I'm most proud of. And I want to say, of all the Rugrats figures that I have, Chucky is the one that wins for me. Look at that. Look at that little boy. I don't know. I'm pretty sure they had SpongeBob, but I may have to look around to see if I can find SpongeBob. Mickey Mouse is really hard to come across, and the only Mickey Mouse that I could find is the Diamond Collection, but I don't want the Diamond Collection. I want the original Mickey. But they sold out, and I regret, and much like Spider-Man, I regret the fact that I didn't pick them up at the time because I didn't think I was going to be into these characters as much as I am now. The Funkos, at least. But of all the Rugrats characters, I want to say Chucky is the best looking one. And it's a testament to how much I love Rugrats, but I want to be real with you. If you look at Tommy, I'm going to go with the creators on this. He looks like a lumpy potato. And the beauty of Rugrats is that they're able to take basically character designs that shouldn't work and manage to make them work. And this is a testament to that. You could take something like the Funko, which is a very cute line, and manage to take, you know, these really cruddy looking drawings and make them look good. Rugrats is a testament to all that. And, you know, as far as like character design having to be appealing, you know, one of the 12, you know, principles of animation. But then you look at Rugrats like, look at that, and that manages to do really well, you know? Little things like that. But that's my Funko collection. You're all curious to know about that. Potentially get some more. I will say this, I did get my dad a Funko. I'm not going to tell you which one it is, in the probability that he may watch this. Who knows, but I'll give you a hint. It's football related. If you don't know already, or you've seen my videos, I've dropped little hints as far as what my favorite football team is. If you go back, I dropped little Easter eggs as far as like what my favorite football team, without saying what my favorite football team is. Woo! All right. That, no, I didn't know that they had a Steamboat Willie Funko. I was talking about the original Funko. The original, just, I say original, I mean not original black and white Mickey. I mean just, you know, traditional Mickey, you know, when you think of Mickey. Not Steamboat Willie Mickey. That's different. Let's see. I would love to have seen a SpongeBob Funko. So I think that's really everything I got to say as far as my discussion goes. I talked about change the channel. I got to show you my Funko collection. I guess this comes to the part where we can go ahead and start doodling. And I feel like it's only fair to bring this up. I was thinking about it. If you guys want me to draw caricatures of you, you send me pictures, private messages. You can send me a private message on YouTube. You can send me a private message on my Facebook page. I'll put a link to that. Send me a private where you want me to do a picture, and I'll do a caricature of it on the stream the next time I'm here. I'm thinking about going back and doing a stream from Procreate on my iPad because I have the app on my phone where you can do a live stream from the app Procreate while I'm doodling. But it's probably going to be for a short time because the internet connection is very funky. I got this running on 3Gs, but there's no data on my iPad, so it'd be really hard to pull that off. We're having a consistent stream, so it might be a shorter stream. May want to do that, but at the very least, I would like, if you guys want me to do caricatures, send me pictures of yourself, and I'll do that the next time I stream. And I'll post them online too. I haven't gotten around to posting the Skechers yet, but thank you, Comic Book Fanatic 3893. Interesting enough, I was looking through this stream. I noticed that my friend Patrick Hazardman from Hazard Production, Patrick Hazard, is on the stream. So I'm glad to see that you're on this. And you know, as I mentioned before, there were a lot of connections I made through that guy with the glasses. He's like one of the first people that I met, and to this day, he's a really close friend of mine. So it's great to see that because it kind of proves my point that I made some pretty deep connections through that forum. Which, now knowing that they shut down that forum is what pisses me off the most about all that. Really does. So you know what? As far as sketching goes, I'm thinking I'm gonna put this on play to see how it looks. Let's see how it goes, so I can maybe see the sketchbook. This side, put it like that. Let's start off with some doodles. And you know what? Since we're already talking about Funkos, let's draw a Funko. Let's see if I can draw my every Funko design relies on this Funko look right here. So if we're gonna go with current design, top 5 favorite Popeye cartoons. I could tell you my number 1 favorite Popeye cartoon. It's hard for me to think about all 5, but my number 1 favorite one is Popeye meets Sinbad. Some great animation in there. That's where they also used the Fleischers had a technique where they used a set. I'm gonna give myself a cowlick on this one. So that's one of my favorite Popeye cartoons. I got long hair, so give myself a little bit of burns, even though I don't really have that much hair going over my face. I feel like I would. The funny thing is that my design on my channel, if you look at the icon over here, I did on Microsoft Paint, and I kind of used the simplicity, the simple style of Funkos. I gotta get myself glasses now. I always forget that I wear glasses. And you know what? After I draw this, I may want to touch this up digitally afterwards. Funko Pop of Groot. Ooh, that would be fun. Daniel, I noticed you write the question, have you ever had any movie theater experience? What are you talking about specifically? Working on a movie or working at a movie theater? Because I don't understand what that question means. What is the best Goofy sports short? I'm going to tell you straight up, my favorite one is Hockey Homicide. That is my favorite Goofy sports short. I love the ending. I love the editing. I love the jokes. There's a great scene in that short where everybody just goes nuts, and it's amazing. So thank you for asking me that animation analysis. I love that you jumped on the stream. I'm gonna do a specific shout out because I really respect that you're the guy always showing up to the streams. So thank you. Oh yeah. So now, Mr. Vasquez, you asked me, have I ever had an annoying or weird movie theater experience? I'll tell you, every time I go see an animated film is a weird experience because I always, in the back of my mind, maybe it's just my anxiety kicking in, but I always feel weird watching an animated film, especially really bad, made for really young kids, because then you see me going to the theater, even like, going to the ticket booth, asking for a ticket for something as crappy as Norm of the North. It's very weird, and it does affect my experience at times, which is kind of like why in my vlog I end up talking about the movie-going experience while I'm watching those movies, because it is interesting to talk about. So for the most part, I don't think... you know what, though? There was one experience I gotta talk about. You know what? Because there are some things that happen that you just gotta talk about, so let me... Strap yourselves in, guys, because this is a story. And then I'll get back to drawing. So, Phantom Thread came out last year, and I wanted to see this movie, and it was very hard to find, so it was in select theaters. It was showing in Freehold, which was kind of a hike for me. So I went to the theater in AMC Freehold. Great seats, great cushion seats, and I go see Phantom Thread. With potentially the most respectful audience I've seen, except for one. I'm talking one guy in this theater. Mind you, this is also the same theater I went to go see Norm of the North years ago, but that's besides the point. One guy in this theater, his phone's going off. His phone just doesn't go off in the movie. It's going off and he answers. And if you haven't seen Phantom Thread, dialogue is an important part to the story, so you need to listen to what the characters are saying. So, I, along with other people, decided to collectively sigh and complain the next time that phone rang at one of the most pivotal moments in the movie, and I will quote what happens next. So after we all collectively sigh, come on, man, what are you doing? Take it outside. We get the unanimous F you and then the theater goes, oh! I guess it's just a New York or New Jersey impression to just go, oh, this guy, he's trying to be a tough guy. And then that was the last we heard of it. Funniest thing to ever happen. I go to the person next to me. I guess it's a really bonding experience when you deal with that one a-hole in a theater. And I go to the person next to me and I go, yeah, that was something. That was something, man. So that's a story. That's a story. I gotta go. Yeah, damn straight I'm gay for Funkos. So I'm kind of a little peeved off that you use that term gay for Funkos because if you haven't noticed, using that term in relation to enjoying something only negates the importance of using that word and only further perpetuates the LGBTQ conspiracies. I mean conspiracies, but it only perpetuates the bad things about that. So I prefer if you would just say I love Funkos because by saying that I'm gay for them only perpetuates kind of a negative term for these people that I respect. So for the most part, let's try to keep it to I love Funkos. I wouldn't say I'm gay for them, but let's be a little bit more respectful. I guess Eric, you haven't seen one of my vlogs. I have seen Island of Dogs. If you want to know my thoughts on Isle of Dogs, go check out my vlog where I talk about how much I love Isle of Dogs. Let's see here. What do we got? No Star Wars Funkos. I have no interest in getting a seeing that. Wow. So, animation analysis, you have quite a story on How to Train Your Dragon 2. I'm sorry you had to deal with that. Really, really sorry you had to deal with that. You're very welcome. You're very welcome because I mean that in all sincerity. You shouldn't be shouting things that you don't mean. Favorite cartoon live action movie? Such a diverse genre, isn't it? Cartoon movie based on a cartoon, at least one that I think did it really well, or at least honored the spirit of the cartoon that they're doing. I'm probably gonna get a lot of hate for this, but I really love the Flintstones movie, the first one that came out in the '90s. I know it doesn't hold up in certain areas, but it did capture the look and feel of the Flintstones. I know there's probably other films I'm not thinking about right now, like live action versions of cartoons. I kind of have a disposition towards them that if they're cartoons, why have to do them in live action? But because the Flintstones, the cartoon doesn't hold up in any way, that does say, you kind of ask yourself, well, let's just see it in live action. And then we see it in live action, and it kind of worked, So that's just kind of my thoughts on that. The Rocky and Bullwinkle movie was pretty good. You know what? George of the Jungle may be my favorite. I'm going to go out and say George of the Jungle was probably my favorite live action cartoon movie. The Rocky and Bullwinkle movie, I got to revisit that to really get a full thought on that, but it's been a while since I've seen that one. But I love George of the Jungle, which only helps because there was one kid I used to work with who watched that day in and day out. Love that kid. Let's get back to drawing my Funko. So, interesting enough, I don't know how to really give myself a neck on this one, so I'm going to avoid giving myself a neck and just do the traditional cartoon look of just having the head connected to the body, since we already on talk about that. And I figure I'll give myself a very simple looking stance. So what other questions do we got? No neck, Joey. Maybe I should cover it up with a beard just to really emphasize that. And I see your question, Ryan. I'm going to go out and say Inspector Gadget's worse than Mr. Magoo. At least Mr. Magoo got Leslie Nielsen. I know he looks nothing like Mr. Magoo, but Leslie Nielsen, God bless his soul. One of my favorite comic actors. I don't want to say comic like comedians because comedy wasn't really supposed to be his niche, but then it did become his niche. So in some ways, I really respect that, and I feel like at least it had something like the talent that was Leslie Nielsen. If you're really that dorky, I recommend that you check out a very old, unupdated WordPress blog that I used to have. Blog. The blog I used to have where I talked about my thoughts on Leslie Nielsen. Recommend you check that out. So I feel like the problem with giving him a beard, because I'm going to shave this at some point, but you haven't noticed by now, I'm drawing this Funko with the beard that I got right now. The worst thing about the beard I have is that maybe it's just, predisposed to certain genes and whatnot. I just got no hair here. And that's annoying. And if I do, it's very splotchy. So I always have to shave around here, but then it makes me look more neckbeardy or, nerdy. So I think that's the one downside of me growing a beard, but I love having a beard. I love it. What Nicktoons do you hope to get Funko Pops of? I do want to get SpongeBob at some point. I would love to have a SpongeBob Funko. A Plankton Funko would be interesting. A Karen Funko, now that would be fun. I know it wouldn't look like a Funko, but to see them do Karen would be a lot of fun. Maybe Dennis from the movie. A Dennis Funko, now that would be something. Ooh! Always Sunny in Philadelphia Funkos. Since I already talked about Dennis, I would love to see them do Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And I would run to whatever store has it to get a Fat Mac Funko Pop. I would run to the store to get anything Danny DeVito, the Trash Man, or any of the costumes he's wearing. Probably as Ongo Kablogian or Mantis Toboggan, Dr. Mantis Toboggan. And better yet, loving to see Charlie in that getup in the musical episode. I would love to get a Funko of that. I pretty much just I just shouted my love. So Eric, two of my favorite live action shows of all time right now are tie. It's a toss up. No, I won't even say it's a toss up. Community is my favorite TV series of all time. Somewhere in the list, if I do a top 5 or 10, I'll put The Honeymooners. I've seen every episode of The Honeymooners. Hard to quote, though, other than playing golf. To quote Art Carney's character. When you address the ball, you go, "Hello, ball!" And I do that every time I play golf. And my favorite live action show is Always Sunny in Philadelphia. To answer that question. Man, talk too much, kill my throat. So, favorite Daffy Duck cartoon down the inkwell? I want to say it's going to be a very unconventional choice to choose Daffy's Rhapsody because it wasn't supposed to be a cartoon, but the current animators, made a CG cartoon of the vinyl recording of Mel Blanc doing a Daffy Duck version of Hungarian Rhapsody, and I really love that short. It's actually among one of my favorites. So I'm going to go and put that on my list of one of my favorite Daffy Duck cartoons. So I'm going to give myself a pose where I'm kind of just doing this with my Funko. Hey, why not? So while we're on the stream, I want to ask you guys, yesterday's video, did you all see it? And what did you think? Any suggestions, any thoughts? This is the time to do it. I'm live, off the cuff. I read all the comments, so, that is what it is. So if you got any thoughts on that, and while I'm answering this question, I don't have Cuphead Funkos because I don't play Funkhead. I haven't played. I don't have a little bit so I can maybe draw so that you can see it a little bit like that. I haven't played Cuphead, so it doesn't seem fair for me to get a Funko of Cuphead if I don't have if I haven't played the game. So no Cuphead Funko. Thank you, Comic Book Fanatic. Feels good to see more reviews again. Thank you. As a quick update on videos that I'm doing right now, I'm going to say I may get Woody Woodpecker done by next week. In the process of editing that video. I just had a very busy week this week, so it was hard for me to get the whole thing edited. I wanted to create a backlog where I was able to get all of April's videos edited in March, but I was only able to get like one and a half of the videos edited in March. So I'm still working on Woody Woodpecker, but I designed it in a way where at least I'll get 3 Cartoon Palooza videos out every month, but I'll have a break week. Either I'll choose to use that break week at the very end, which I hoped to do, but in the worst case scenario, I may use the break week this week so that I can finish editing the Woody Woodpecker video. Like I said, I just had a very busy weekend, so that was hard. Let's see here. So, Nathaniel, I'm going to bring that up, but I didn't get a chance to bring that up. But Illuminations, there was news that Illuminations was supposed to work on a Woody Woodpecker movie, but that fell through. Clint says, do you like to see any Wallace and Gromit pops? Yeah, I would love to get a Gromit pop, because, and I would probably love if they did an expression similar to this without the smirk. Like, no smile for Gromit. Just kind of like a disgruntled look for Gromit. That would be a lot of fun. Did I see that DreamWorks is making a new Rocky and Bullwinkle series for Amazon? They've been doing that. They've wanted to do that for a really long time. If you don't remember, back when Peabody and Sherman came out, they did a short, not for every theater, but I think they did it onto the DVD, where they did a CG Rocky and Bullwinkle cartoon. So DreamWorks has owned the license to the Rocky and Bullwinkle for a while. They've owned the licenses to all the J. Ward cartoons. So I've known that they were going to do something, but now knowing that they got one on Amazon, it's not surprising. Kind of convenient for me because I do have a Prime account, so I may want to check that out. But the problem with Rocky and Bullwinkle, and I kind of mentioned this in my in last week's stream, I didn't really watch Rocky and Bullwinkle growing up. I probably watched more. I probably watched more by association. Probably watched more Dudley Do-Right than I did Rocky and Bullwinkle, which only made that movie more painful. So I'm using a felt tip for this one, rather than a Sharpie. Favorite Disney Renaissance film? It's a very good question, and I'll give you the answer. Beauty and the Beast. I think I mentioned this in my my top 20 favorite animated films. If you go to the top 5, I mentioned Beauty and the Beast, and Beauty and the Beast is still my #1 favorite film. Answer that question. No neck Joey. That's gonna stick for me for a while. I would love to touch this up digitally. The downside of having a beard, my beard specifically, the whiskers are popping out, and it's very hard for me to clean up my whiskers. Bambi is #1, but that's not a Renaissance film. It's not my favorite Disney Renaissance animated film. When you talk about the Disney Renaissance, that period focuses on the animated films made between Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and I know I say it starts with Who Framed Roger Rabbit. A lot of people say it started with The Little Mermaid, but I feel like the Renaissance period started with Who Framed Roger Rabbit and ended with Fantasia 2000. It's up for debate. I know. Technically, people say that it's from Little Mermaid to The Lion King, but if we're talking about like the hot streak for Disney, I've always associated it to, you know, the Who Framed Roger Rabbit, because Disney animated, after that movie came together, they really kicked it up a notch with their animation, and then leading to the end where I feel like, you know, Fantasia 2000 kind of just, you know, ended that. You know, that was like just the big ending to it. To me, that's just what I define as the Disney Renaissance. People can disagree with me on that. Let's see here. Do I still hate Invader Zim? Dislike Invader Zim. I don't hate. I'm still confused by its popularity. I don't know if people are going to be disappointed in me saying that, but I'm still disappointed by its popularity because in comparison to what the show gave, I don't think it really delivered. I mean, is it terrible? I mean, yeah, I don't know. Can't say I really hate Invader Zim. There's some things I just don't understand about it. Let's see here. What Disney TV show do you hope to get Funko Pops of? So I was watching Erod's vlog on why he quit Channel Awesome, and I noticed his Funko Pops in the background, and there were two Disney TV series that I knew I had to get at one point. Gravity Falls. I would love to get myself a Dipper Funko. And I also saw Darkwing Duck. I would love to get a Funko of Darkwing Duck. That would be a lot of fun. Austin Manders asks, what do you think about a review series made with live action and animation? I've been thinking about returning to my review series. Listen, if you're going to start a review series, know what you got. And I mentioned that earlier in the stream. The thing with Doug Walker is that he knew what he had at the time, which is why the earlier videos are his best. As he became more successful, it became very apparent that he didn't know what he was doing, which eventually led to the downfall that is Channel Awesome. So, here we go. This is the outlines. I think I'm going to go ahead and color this in using my Copic. But even before that, I'm going to go color in the areas that I know are going to be black. I'm going to go ahead and put this over here. Favorite silly symphony cartoon? That's a hard question to answer, so I'm going to have to hold off on that. But I do see a question that asks me if I've ever been to Europe. Nope. Never been on the other side of the globe, unfortunately. Maybe one day. Maybe one day I will. Just not today. I agree with you, SCG Studios. The videos just don't stick, and as I mentioned before, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that I think he doesn't really know what he's doing. And it was kind of brought up that I don't have anything against his crew, Tamara and Malcolm. I feel unfortunate because they're put in a position that they don't want to be in. I mean, they didn't really. I don't think they really asked for most of what they're getting. Maybe you did bump into me in Universal. Who knows? Did you? Was it this summer in July? Probably. Atlantis for the first time today. Wow, took you a while to see it, but it is a pretty good film. Still enjoyable. Super Emery. I'm not leaving the Cartoon Palooza. I know I hate saying this because I know it is a lot to go through. But if you were to go back 2 streams ago, I did mention there that I'm not quitting the Cartoon Palooza, and as I mentioned in the video before that, I'm just changing the way things I'm doing in the show. It's when I talked about it with somebody, he said, so he's not really rebooting it, you're just making really big changes. So yeah, I'm not getting rid of the show, I'm just making really big changes to it. So, you know. Oh my gosh, Nathaniel, did you actually go up to this guy and say, are you Joey Tedesco from the Cartoon Palooza? That would have been funny. You know what I would love to do? At some point, maybe if there's a convention or something, I'll announce that if there is a convention coming up in the Northeast. If I ever go to these conventions, I'll mention it online. If anybody ever wants to meet up with me at said convention, that would be kind of fun because I know there's a lot of YouTubers do meetups. You know, they tell fans about places that they're gonna go and they make a day out of it. So I may want to do that at some point. That'd be kind of fun. If you did ask him directly, though, that would have been very interesting. So I'm glad you didn't ask him because that would be very funny. But yeah, that would be kind of cool to do like a meetup. Meet up with the fans. I hate saying fans. That's such a weird word to say. Meeting up with people. Meet up with people. That's it. That's better.
You know, I've heard about Con Bravo. I've actually wanted to go one year. Taylor from Toon Grin, he's from Canada. I wanted to do a meetup with him at some point. We worked with each other for a really long time, so I would love to do something like that. So this might take me a while. Copic is a fun marker, but you gotta be very careful with how you use it. So I had a Copic marker made by the Great Value make of Michael's. I think it's called Artist First, and that marker dried out really fast. I was very disappointed with that. Oh man, I wish you can get a good view of this. At some point I'm going to get a rig that can just go above where you can see me draw. But if you watch me color, Copics is a very fun medium to use. I know I use gray, but they're very expensive. So I figure doing things in grayscale and playing around with values is a great way to work on your form and before you get into colors, because colors is a whole nother what's the word I'm looking for? A whole nother animal, you know? Good use of color, that's hard to pull off. I was thinking about getting a table at a convention at some point and selling merchandise, selling artwork, selling some of my figurines, my stickers. That'd be fun to do. So I hate Madagascar. It's no surprise there. I think I hate all three movies. that's the short of it. I've wanted to do videos on why I hate the Madagascar films, but I hate the Madagascar films. That's really all I gotta say about them. I wish I could go into more detail, though. I'm just saying I really hate those movies. Homer Simpson's my favorite Simpsons character by default because he's one of my favorite cartoon characters of all time. I want to talk about briefly, since this is being brought up anyways, I would like to talk about the problem with Apu, because there was a documentary that came out on True TV talking about the character Apu. And for years, I think it hasn't been a surprise that a lot of people were disappointed that Hank Azaria, a white man, voices Apu. But at the same time, a lot of people weren't disappointed. I'm just saying, maybe I'm looking at things differently as a kid, but growing up, I never really looked at Apu as like a dangerous caricature. I never looked at him as being a malicious type of cartoon character. I mean, from what I understand, it's split between two people. The guy who created the documentary hated Apu, you know, and he had very valid reasons for hating the character. But then there are other people, Indian people that I knew growing up who loved the character Apu. I know that I just used the I have black friends excuse, which is kind of a bad excuse to use. But I'm just saying, based on people I knew growing up who had really good things to say about Apu, because as a character, he's not a bad guy. He's one of the smarter characters on the show. He's one of the more brighter characters. Kind of wish he had more to say in the movie, but that's just me. But for some reason, I always feel like this controversy with Apu is interesting, you know? Because I agree with it, but then I disagree with it at the same time. And if you have a caricature, if you have a stereotype that's dangerous, if you have a caricature that intentionally paints a race in a malicious way, then stop it. Like the Dumbo, the crows in Dumbo, that's a legitimate concern. But the censored 11, that too. But if you get a character that's intentionally good, or the intentions were good to be a good character, but at the same time be a stereotype, on that and the fact that the show The Simpsons is loaded with stereotypes anyways, it's a mixed bag. I mean, the only defense I can really come to is Speedy Gonzales, which for years people censored because they felt that Speedy was a misrepresentation of Mexicans. But then, guess what? Years later, Mexicans embrace Speedy Gonzales as a character. I always figured it was the same thing with Apu, but I don't know. Stupid white boy talking. What do I know? I wouldn't mind if a character was played by a different race, but I can see how people get. You know what? As I'm talking, I can see it too. But I guess you could say I'm also looking at it from a whole perspective, because it's a mixed bag. That a controversy is where you got something that people are kind of split on, and it's one of those things that I think Apu as a character, people are split on now. The way the Simpsons responded to it, I think the way they responded to it is very similar to how Channel Awesome responded to their controversy, kind of like, well, we're not wrong, so we're just going to keep doing it. They could have handled it better. And you know, Animat, I didn't get a chance to watch how Animat talked about it. I wanted to get a chance to, but they could have done it better. So the robots review is in forever lingo. I wish I could do something about that, but that's that at this point the robots review is a lost cause unless, oh no, you can't even go there because VidMe's down. I had it on VidMe, but at some point I will get robots out there. Maybe re-edit it, retool it in a way where it doesn't get the copyright strike. So yeah, if you're curious as to what happened to the robots review, it had a big old copyright strike on it, and it didn't just affect it momentarily, it affected it worldwide. And the next step that I'm at with that video is an appeal, which I just don't want to be put in the risk of losing my channel or getting a strike on my channel, which, knock on wood, I haven't had yet. Oh great, now I really jinx, I hope I don't jinx myself by saying that. You know, again, knock on wood. I just don't want to be put in that position, basically. So yeah, in answer to the question, it's in the sunken place. You can thank Fox for that. If it makes you feel any better, that's one of those reviews that's lost. But there's another video that's lost too that I'm very upset was lost. And when I say lost, I mean like legit lost. Like at least with robots, I got the file for robots. I still have the robots review. I cannot say that about my 50th review. If anybody remembers, my 50th review was for the movie Delgo. So I'm the dumb guy here who leaves Blip thinking that he made a backlog of all my videos, but the one video that I forget the backlog is Delgo. So, and I don't have it on YouTube either, because that video also had a big copyright strike, and at the time I figured I'll just delete the video. I'll delete the Delgo review. But a lot of people jumping into my show for the first time probably didn't know that I reviewed the animated film Delgo. I was thinking about doing a re-review of it just so that I have another review of Delgo, but the truth be told, it's in a weird place where I haven't gotten to that point. Maybe I'll do it, maybe I won't. I just don't know. But that review is gone. Like, I'm telling you, I've looked everywhere, and I've looked through all my hard drives, and all my flash drives, and all my drives, you know, drive-bys, you name it. I can't find that thing. I just can't. It's gone. Yeah, it does suck. Sorry about that, folks. And you know what the funny thing is? Also a Fox film. So, maybe that merger with Disney is going to be some good. Maybe they'll lighten up on the copyright strikes. Favorite Family Guy character? Good question that I don't have an answer to right now. I'm going to have to think about that one. The very lost media. If we're talking lost media, I want to go back to like ancient times. I want to talk about films that I made when I was in high school and middle school. There was one film I made for a short film festival when I was in high school where I made a stop motion film with chess pieces. And unfortunately, the school I submitted it to still has it. I think they deleted the VHS up to this point, so that's gone too. I got a whole bunch of other films that I made. I'm just too lazy to get them. I was kind of like the weirdo who just always had a camcorder with him in high school, just recording stuff and making movies and stuff. But that's just what I love to do. I always loved the visual video, if you will. Man, EJ, am I saying your last name right? EJ Cha? EJ Che? Love the show Amazing World of Gumball. That show is out there. It is funky, and I was just watching an episode called The Candidate, which made a very clever commentary on millennials versus baby boomers. That show is that's a good show. I love how many questions you guys are all asking me. Got a lot of great questions. I guess at this point I'm going to stop the Funko. Maybe I'll do one more of these. I think I spent more time on this one than I did on the other characters I did on my streams. But this one I'm pretty proud of. Yeah, this one I'm pretty proud of. I think I'm going to do one more. Got any other suggestions? Like I said, all the Funkos I shared today are all the Funkos I shared. There are no other Funkos to share. That is my collection. Draw Mr. Coat as a Funko, knowing you, Ryan, being the moderator of the fan page, you are totally going to be sharing that. So you know what? I'm going to do it because I know you're going to share it on the Facebook fan page. So the cool thing about Stephen is that he has a goatee. I'm going to draw him when he has a goatee. And he's got a hoodie. He's a very chill guy, so it's going to be very easy for me to do a Funko of Stefan. Stefan, I mean. My favorite Mel Brooks movie would probably be, let's see. My favorite Mel Brooks movie. Toss up between Blazing Saddles and Silent Movie. I was thinking about Silent Movie today. Maybe I'm just saying it by association, but that is a very clever movie. I love Silent Movie. I think it's Silent Film. Correct me if I'm wrong. Silent Movie or Silent Film. You tell me. So the funny thing about this Funko that I'm drawing right now is that I'm going to draw Stefan with the little explorer cap that he has in his logo. I give him like a Johnny Depp look with his hair for some reason. Giving him a Johnny Depp look with his hair. So that's what I'm getting so far. Uncle Grandpa as a show is a mixed bag for me. I'm gonna be real with you. That's a mixed bag for me. I can't say it's a bad show. Draw Deadpool. That'd be too easy. I already got my Deadpool Funko, so I would want to challenge myself. Favorite Futurama character? I'm going to say my favorite Futurama character would be... It's a good question. Favorite Futurama character? Ben... Oh, no, I was going to say Bender. It's definitely Zoidberg. I love Zoidberg. Favorite Zoidberg quote? Hooray! I'm a teenage heartthrob again. Or when he shows up as Santa's best friend Jesus. That was fun. Stefan, I don't know if it is, but his hair comes across as being black, so I'm gonna have to color that in along with the eyes. I think he got a haircut. It's been a while. I have to watch his latest video. See where he's at with the hair. If there's one thing that annoys me as a reviewer is that I have to have a consistent look every video. The downside is I'm very fickle with my hair, so I never have the same look. I should though. Favorite food. I'm gonna feel like a fat butt saying this, but it's gonna be a toss-up between pizza and burritos. I mean, I'm a fat guy, so fat guy loves his food. So that's my favorite food. Alright, so now we're gonna be coloring him in, which I'm gonna do from here so that at least you guys can watch this guy in. Stefan. So I'm going to save my thoughts on Titan AE because Titan AE holds a very special place in the Cartoon Palooza development, you know, as far as a review show goes. So I'm not going to share my thoughts on Titan AE. You're going to have to wait for that one. Maybe a year, maybe a couple of years, maybe another 10 years. But that thought will come out. I'm just not sharing it now. Thank you. So Mr. Coat and I met through the channel Awesome Forums. That's how we met, which is why it's very disappointing to see that forum gone. I made a lot of connections. Stuff this hat, but I feel like it gets the point across. Ron's going to be the Cat in the Hat review. Which at the same time today, he posted his video, and it's a complete coincidence. Ooh, looks like I see that video. Oh wow, job. You know what? If this keeps happening, I think after Mr. Coat, I'm gonna put the stream on stop. I think this is probably the longest I've streamed so far. I don't think I've streamed longer.